what I have been doing, or what we've been doing in third grade a lot, has been using a web-based program called Nearpod. Right now we use the free version. We're trying to find funding for the paid version, but if you guys log into your computers, it'll be helpful that you guys can look at it as well as I'm going along with it. So,
just nearpod.com.
Nearpod.com, yep. We have apps on all of our iPads for Nearpod. Actually, we use it so much that we've had the kids put it down in their docks because they can just in the dock at the bottom. But as I told Brian thought it was only for elementary, and I told Brian, no, you can use it computer-based too. So it can go both. You guys can sign in as using your Google account, or you can just wait a minute and I will so this is what my Nearpod looks like when it comes up. Like I said, we use the free version right now. Nearpod is kind of like Smart Notebook Exchange, where you can, and it's almost kind of like Teacher Pay Teacher as well. You can click on the Explore, and what it does is it has a library of its own. Now, there are certain versions of the paid part of it that you get this entire library for free. You don't have to pay for individual lessons. And then they also have virtual field trips and all kinds of stuff. But you can come up here in the search and you can type in anything like, let's say, French. And it gives you all kinds of lessons. Like I said, you have options to buy them. Like I said, there are stages of licensing if you purchase the licensing. That everything in this library is actually free. So anything that has is $1.99 or $2.99, all of it's free. But you guys can see that there are, tons of things that you go through. Anything from the symphony orchestra. There's all kinds of show studies up. But a lot of times they'll be bundled. So you'll get so you're thinking, oh man, $40 for one lesson, that's ridiculous. But it's actually 15 lessons. 15 different lessons. They bundle some of them together. And then they're all grade level. So you can actually filter. You can go to all the free ones, and let's say I can do any type of resource, any type of grade. But if I just choose free, so they're giving me the two free ones. The French Revolution Begins and the Enlightenment. And they're done by social studies, and they got the grade level. Now I've used a few that are higher grade level for my third graders than what third grade is, but they're very easily looked at. And if you click on one of those, like the Enlightenment in Europe, it actually gives you a preview of it. So if you wanted to download it, whatever. But Nearpod's kind of unique. It looks a lot like a PowerPoint kind of project, where you can go through, but it also allows you to insert open-ended questions. It allows you to insert videos, web pages, quick little quizzes. Right? So there's a lot of things that you can do with Nearpod that you can't do with PowerPoint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my library, and I'm going to, so here's my library. Just some of the ones that, like I said, when you have the free version, you don't have as much storage either for these. So these are some of the things that I've done with my kids, okay, for both science or social studies. This one, you can see there's some people that are different authors. You can see these ones that were made by me. Okay, I made them. They were very easy to make. If you already have a PowerPoint that you use for some subject, it's very easy to make. So I'm going to click on New. I'm going to click on Lesson. Okay, and where it says drag and drop. Okay, that's very easy. You can either go and add new slides as you go, and just make them up as you go. Or the very nice thing that goes along with this is I've chose this. So I'm getting ready I'll be teaching timelines here next week. So I have a timelines PowerPoint that I normally use. I bring it over, I drag it, I drop it. It says status, okay. And then as it processes, everybody, my PowerPoint's in there. Now, of course, yes, everybody, this is a PowerPoint, but I can add a slide, I can add content, I can add web content, or I can add activity. The free version, you can't add web content, but I'm going to add an activity. There's different activities. There's an open-ended question. There's polls. Okay. There's a regular quiz. There's a drawlet. The new collaborate would be like if you're wanting small groups to kind of work together. They could talk about it. A lot of times I use the open-ended question for that. You have fill in the blanks and then a memory test. But a lot of times, let's say I want a drawlet. Okay. You can either drag an image in here, or you can go up to the options and you can say draw a timeline. Okay, so the drawlet's added. Now they added at the end, but it's very easy to take it and drag it. Let's say I want it at the beginning, okay? Or let's say I want it after that first initial slide. All right, then I get anywhere through there. You know, like I said, I can add another slide. This time I'm going to add an activity. I'm going to add a quiz. Okay, so you don't have to enter the quiz title, but you have a question. So let's say, what's my name? I'm just, like I said, I'll go back through and delete these later. And then I can put Ed, Mike, and you click on which one's correct. You can add an answer, so it can be more than two. You can add as many as you want. And then you add a question. So here's the second question. Okay. Yeah, you don't need to add an extra slide each time. If you're doing the same quiz, you do the same thing. Now you can insert a picture on there so they can look at the picture. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, please. Yeah. Got it. Let's just say timelines, images. Why am I on Yahoo? Alright, so copy image. I'm going to go back over here, and I can. Can't drop it. Oh, there we go. It's right there. It was. Sorry, I didn't look at it. So let's just say that one. And I put that in, and I can do what happened last on the timeline. Oops. And if you knew what actual picture you were looking at, you could see different things. Just do it that way. And you hit save, and it's going to add that in there. So now it's there at the end. All right, and then you can move that anywhere. And so we save it. Untitled lesson, timeline, class. I know later. Then you have to put, because once you publish it, it actually publishes to the whole thing. So you can go and become a Nearpod person if you made up a bunch of lessons, and you could actually get, put a price on them and actually get paid by Nearpod. Just kind of like you do teacher pay teacher. And so now if I looked at here's my lesson I created. You have two options, a live lesson or a student-paced lesson. Right now with the free version, you cannot do student-paced. But student-paced is basically you click on it and it gives you a code, and the kids put that code in and they can do it whenever. Some people use them for stations, some people use them as E-days, like the snow days that we haven't had. But you can have them kind of go at their own pace. Or if you want a day of where the kids, like they do in the high school, like you guys do in the high school, where you have, your self-paced or whatever, your blended learning days, you can do it that way too, because the student pace is all on their own. So we can go to live lesson, and then this code pops up. So if you guys are in there, and if not, if you want to, you can go back out to the beginning. I think you guys have to log out. You log out and then
I just typed on the Nearpod page.
yeah, Nearpod, and then there's a session, and you put that code in. Like when my classes come in, and we're telling them to do a Nearpod course. Our third graders, they carry their iPads everywhere each day. You can get in there, and as you can see, it pops up. They ask your name, normally ask for a nickname. But I'll have that code up on the board, and the kids can come in, and they know, if they see that code, they know we're doing a Nearpod, and they click on it, they put that code in, put their name in, they know they're not allowed to use emojis or anything like that with their name, and they're not using even though it says nickname, they're not using a nickname. Okay. Alright, so everybody in there, everybody's screen should look the same, like this. Alright, now the teacher has teacher control of it. It's kind of nice. Our iPads, we have a Mimeo app downloaded, and has a QR code on the settings that you can snap that, and then I can take control of my desktop with my iPad, so I can actually walk around the room and make sure the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing, things like that, and still be able to control my board. Okay. So his timelines, and then obviously when I change slides, yours change slides. And you have the thing that says draw a timeline. So you would use the tools on there and draw a timeline. Now, as you can see, I've got everybody's coming up. If I want to, everybody's names are up there right now, but if I don't want their names up there, down here where it says showing names, I can click on that and it just gives me stars. A lot of times you do that when there's quizzes, because then it also doesn't show the answers that the kids are putting in, and I'll show you that here when we get to the quiz. But put on, and you hit send, and everything comes up and says thank you.
Oh my God, Lord, she didn't know first.
That was me, that was Brad Bailey.
Yeah. Right. So, and this is kind of neat too, because at this time, you see everybody's, but I can come up here and I can click on this one, and it pulls it up big, or I can hit this share button, and now it's on everybody else's. So I can make a point, this one's really good, this person went really beyond their overachiever status with the actual numbers, okay? And then you can click unshare. Of course, I can go through everybody's. This person really needs remediation. Somebody's got the railroad tracks under mine. No, I'm just kidding. But you can see all of them that come up. And it's a good thing that you can bring them up like that. I can share them because we can then have a classroom discussion about, okay, what are some misconceptions that we have about timelines? Obviously, somebody thinks time is cyclical and goes counterclockwise.
You didn't know that?
Yeah. And so, or we can talk about, different elements of timelines or whatever you were talking about, right? And so then, like I said, if I wanted to show who did what, I can still hit show names, and we can go on. If I want to ever go back through a slide or skip a slide, there's a slide thing in the middle of the button. You see the 6 green people down here? If I'm teaching and I see this go red, then I know somebody is not paying attention, or they let their iPad shut out, or something has happened that they have stopped paying attention. So if it goes red, then they're no longer active in the session. They're still signed in, and it'll go green again once they tap their button on their iPad or get back into the screen, but it'll go red. Yeah.
Is it only when their screen shuts off? Because our laptops, they won't necessarily.
I don't know. I don't know. Why don't you try to switch web pages and see what happens? Just go to a different tab.
Oh, wait, I'm still on your
I've done that to
myself.
myself.
And then change it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Computers may be that they're signed in all the time. And of course, I being social studies, I'm not the tested group, so I have a bunch of kids that are transient in and out of my room for speech or other things that they come and get them for. Of course, they're going to go red, so all I have to do is hit the X, and I can actually exit them out of the session as well. But yeah, it'll be red. And if somebody comes in, right there's always your code. There's always the code if you need it. All right. So again, it's the same way. Every time you change, your screen in front of them changes. I use it a lot of times when we're taking notes, because I got a lot of kids spread out around the room, but I got a lot of kids that have vision problems. And before I started using it, I had 6 kids up on the carpet trying to copy notes off the board because they couldn't see from the back of the room. Now with their iPads, it's right in front of them. They can copy those notes down right in front of them.
And on the iPad, they pinch and zoom.
Yes, yes. Any of the pictures, things like that, they can actually on the iPad pinch and zoom in and move around. So if I wanted to, like I said, we could skip ahead, go through all this timeline. We could go to the quiz at the end. Okay. And like I said, going with quiz, I can hide the answers or hide the people's names, which also hide the answers, because if you don't do that, when you start putting in your answer, they'll show up. So this is in front of the room, and you guys are putting in your answers to your quiz. As you can see, they're starting to come in, and they're starting to give you, and it's red if it's wrong, it's green if it's right. So if you hit the stop showing the names, it still will tell you over here very quickly. who's, how many you've got correct, what percentage you got correct, what percentage you don't have. And I use this a lot of times for an exit ticket. Like end of a lesson, real quick 5 questions, comes automatically. Okay, again, I don't show the kids what they got. Now, when you are done and you want to go over it, you can click on that question, and it brings the question up. And then you can talk about what the answer was. Same way with that. And then there's who got it right, who got it wrong. Okay. Now, then basically that ends, but that's not the end of it. All right. You want to leave the session? I always say yes. Okay. So then, starting my next class, I click on it again, live session. This time I don't want to, I hit no where I don't want to resume it, and it will give me a completely different code. And I'll show you why that's important in a second. So, if I went to, okay. Now, I can go back here to this very first page when I'm logged in with mine, and there's a bottom one down here called reports. I can click on the reports, and it shows you all the different ones that I've done with my class and when I did them. Okay, so I can click on there, and there's the session. Okay, and I can click on the session, and it gives me an actual detailed report. And so here was my quiz, here was my drawlet. I had one person not go in with the drawlet or do the drawlet. Okay, so this is another way you can see. A lot of times the open-ended questions, I put those at the front because we start talking about it, and I have the tables talk together. And a lot of times you only hear from 2 or 3 kids. What did your table talk about? Well, I'll put it in as, what did you list one thing your table talked about. So then every person at your table is responsible for typing something in that the table talked about. And then we can share them on the board. So, it's a way that we can get through there. And the reason why you close out, and of course then I can download it. I can download it straight to Google Docs. Okay, I can share it. Okay. But if I look at, say, maps, this is one that I did, that I had, actually did for my observation, but we had an exit ticket at the end. You can see how many students were involved in each class. That was the beginning of each class, so there's my first class, there's my second block, third block, fourth block class. And by closing it and not resuming it and getting that new session is what was able to split it up into my different classes. So then I was able to, let's say, my second class. Okay. I can get real quick, I can get a summary of everything. Okay. How many got correct, how many got wrong. I can get an overview. Okay. Which that's just the top 5. But then I can come over here to the quiz, the actual quiz itself, look at the quiz that I had, okay, and look at the question, and look at the students, and each student and their response. So I can, okay, was that a pattern? So many kids miss it, what was their response? Or in this case, I had 84% of the kids get it correct. I had one no answer, but that was because I didn't, I didn't X somebody out after they left. But what type of map would you use to find a Canadian border? We have to talk about political and physical maps. So Donald here, he left to go to, I think he got pulled that day to go get tested or something. Matthew Scott. So you can go through, and like I said, it shows everybody, and then you exit out. And like I printed those off, and I actually took them in with Ed in my post observation, and I mean they were nice and detailed, printed off, and said, "Here's my data. And here's the data I have." And like I said, you can easily just import it into an Excel or anything like that that will come up. And really, that's kind of about what we use them for. I showed you how to create a lesson, which is very easy, especially if you have a PowerPoint. Putting in the quizzes, the tests, very easy as well. You know, just coming up with them. Like if I, where's my library? The maps one that I just showed you is one that I already had a PowerPoint for. Now, just because I published it doesn't mean that I can't go back and edit it at any time. Okay. And so I started off with an open-ended question. So my open-ended question was looking at two maps. What are some similarities and differences that your table sees? Write one thing your table talked about. So in this case, they also had two hard copy papers per table in front of them. So they were looking at those, discussing with their tables, and then they had to put in an answer in a Nearpod. And then they had another open-ended question. Discuss with your table, what do you think our goal for today should be? So then I had them talking about what our goal for the day was going to be, what our right-hand statement was going to be that we were talking about, and going through. And then we started with the presentation. We also use interactive notebooks, so they had their notebook in front of them. They had a T-chart already glued in, and then we did a T-chart on physical maps and political maps, and the notes were right there in front of them as we did it. So like I said, I didn't have people coming up to the board. I didn't have people squinting, trying to see what was on there. It was in front of them. And you know, with the iPad, you can zoom in and zoom out on pictures, things like that. We didn't look at the picture on the. So I come down here. Like the political map one, this slide, the kids are able to zoom in, zoom out on their iPads. You can do it on your computers with the zoom in and zoom out tool that's on there. Let's skip that one. Let me get on my line real quick. But like this one here, if we were to go through it, I'm not going to make you log in on it. But if we were to go through this one, there's all kinds of, this is one that I bought, or didn't buy, this is one that was free. We went through, there's 3 pair of shares, and then draw a picture of a chemical reaction that you and your partner discussed. Talk about reactivity, and then there's a video. And then the video would pop up on your guys's, and this is where it's helpful that everybody has headphones, because then they all watch the video at their own pace, and you don't want 21 videos going on at the same time in your room.
Can you play it just from yours?
Yeah, normally. This one. So like,
Okay.
so like today's video, you can do all devices or this device only, and so then, like I said, you can insert YouTube videos, things like that. That's what this is.
We are reacting 5 different metals in a single replacement reaction with 1 molar hydrochloric acid. From left to right, the metals are aluminum, copper, iron.
Now, my kids don't necessarily understand the 1 moles and things like that. What I had them watch this for was just to get see the different chemical reactions and variable chemical reactions that happen when they put the acid in with the different
measure
chemicals.
the activity.
Because most of my kids, the only thing they know that reacts is baking soda and water, or baking soda and vinegar. Baking soda and vinegar. That's the only thing they know that actually does a chemical reaction. So to see different things actually react, is different. And then if you want to skip it, you can keep skipping it. And then another, like I said, you can put as many different things in there as you want. But that's one that was made that I found for free.
Are you able to edit?
Yes. Yes. Now there is a. Let's see. I'm trying to find one that I did. I did find out that if you just download it the way it is. Like this one here, I didn't come up with it, but I edited it, and then when I went to do it and save it, it kept saying it was too big for my free file storage availability. So then I had to keep cutting it down, and finally came up with the about 7 slides that are left to keep it underneath my thing. But it was still able to get it across the point, but I had to take some things out of it. I have to teach primary and secondary sources in social studies, so there's just some things. Those were, like I said, that I could cut it all the way down to, and then that was it. There was 7. It was 7, and that was it. I wasn't able to put any quizzes, anything like that in it. So like I said, if we're able to get enough interest and be able to get funding, you get your file storage is unlimited. You make it as big as you wanted. And so
Does it limit the number of
ones you have?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it does. It limits to a certain what they call library size right now, but if you had like a paid version, it doesn't limit that. But I know we use it both. We've used 3rd grade, Mr. Everman and I. He uses it in math all the time. I use it in science and social studies all the time. Just because then again, it is just right there in front of the kids. They do have virtual field trips that you can go on. Like you have different lessons. They have digital citizenship lessons that basically teach kids, internet savvy stuff. Okay, same, and they've got them geared for different grade levels. So there's like your top free ones. It's it's just like an app, app store where you can buy them. But you have what they call Nearpod VR right here, and you can do like this one's $19.99. These virtual field trips, and the kids can do them and go and explore different places. I had one on my library. I don't think it was very good. I had one on my library. So like here's the virtual field trip. Obviously it's a premium feature. I did that when I was but it gives you, the kids can manipulate and look around. They can zoom in. Places, really any place all over the world, things like that. And then for their iPads, they're easy to zoom in too, but like with the mouse, I'm just scrolling the scroll button and moving around. And you can, you can do several different ones. I mean, you can pay for them. They have some that are guided that you pay for and they actually guide you through places. Like I said, it just all shows up on there. It'll show up on your screen, but it also shows up in front of them so they can manipulate it individually. So let's say somebody wanted to see what in the world this building is, or explore that building, or they wanted to just kind of keep looking around, or, oh, hey, there's, somebody in a green shirt getting a picture taken. I can, you zoom in. I had one of the ones that I had for my class. Yeah, no, I don't care. I have at least 2 slides. One of the ones for my class is, I believe this one, natural resources. Natural resources, looked at it. One of the slides, so like I said, this is the one that I didn't do. We talked about natural resources, and at the end we talked about conservation, and there was this picture of a landfill, and the kids really enjoyed it because they were able to move around, able to zoom in, and they had to pick out 3 objects in the landfill that could have been recycled. It got to the point where the kids looked over and said, "Hey, look over there by those trees. There's 2 chairs, 2 white chairs," and they really like to be able to. Of course, with the iPads, they were able to manipulate it, with their fingers, and with the PC, you're going to be able to use the mouse and stuff like that. But you're able to really look all the way around at because a lot of my kids have never seen a landfill. They don't know what it looks like. They just know the trash is taken there. So to be able to show them kind of what a landfill looks like, and be able to zoom in and see all the plastic bottles, and like I said, they had to find 3 things in the landfill that could have been recycled. So there's all kinds of neat pictures, things like that you can incorporate. The field trips you can incorporate. Like I said, right now we just use the live version or the live lesson because the student-paced lesson is a premium feature. But the student-paced lesson can be, you give them the code, or even like ours, we give it the code, and or you put the code in your Moodle page and say, here's the code for this lesson, do it. And then you can generate the report as well. Whenever time a student does it, it comes up student-paced and like that. So, anybody have any questions? I think. Yeah, I mean, it is, and Google Slides is nice, and where you can, share the Google Slides, but you don't have the interactive feedback. You don't have the polls. You don't have the, the drawing. You don't have the little short quizzes you can put in there.
Is this, could you connect this to Google? Like Google Classroom?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those Google apps that you can add on the phone?
Well, I don't think it's an app, but I know I got an email the other day that actually said that they are integrating this into Google Classroom. So you'd be able to push it through Google Classroom. And that's actually one of the sessions that Jeremy and I were like, man, we want to learn about Google Classroom. Nobody's doing one on Google Classroom. So, but yeah, so, yeah.
You have access to Google Classroom?
Yeah, I was playing with it the other day. All you got to do is go in and my kids, you can add students, or you can give the kids a code, and they can go into Google Classroom and add that code, or you can manually add students, and it's just by their email address, their school email address.
Or in
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played with it. That's really how I've learned most of the stuff I know to be dangerous, is just by playing and figuring it out. And I haven't played enough with Google Classroom yet to. That's my summer project. That's my summer project. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, this is something that is very easy. It's something that, you know, especially with being able to take a PowerPoint, dropping it right in there, adding the quizzes, but it gets the kids involved too. The kids aren't just sitting there listening to you lecture or, you know, listening to different things. They're able to look. Now, I do have to time tell the kids, they kids know not to be zooming in and zooming out on their iPads all the time, because that's all they'd be doing. On each slide, whether there's something to zoom in or zoom out, the kids just really like to, you know, manipulate their iPads. But this way, you know, the kids have, our third graders have, you know, been taught, we've trained them, they know what to do, they know how to get on, they know, you know, to look at it, they know to make sure they're tapping their screen so that I know they're still involved, so I don't come around and tap on them, you know, and say, hey. But like I said, a lot of times what I do, instead of sitting, you know, sitting at my computer, if you go to your right-click your Mimeo settings, and go to settings, and right here where it says mobile, it gives you a QR code. This has not been activated. Well, not activated on this one, but it's activated on mine. So I can take my iPad, and they have an app called Mimeo Mobile, and Mimeo Mobile.
So could we potentially use our cell phones?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like here's my history, but it gives you a
Oh my
thing,
God.
and I could come up here if it was enabled and scan that QR code, which it says maybe it was are enabled, which is not enabled. I don't know why. But like here's mine. It has a history. That's my desktop over in my classroom, and I can control my desktop from my iPad. So I can actually walk around the room and control the Nearpod from my iPad and make sure that everybody is still on task. And I can do anything that I can do sharing wise or anything like that up here, I can do from my iPad. So anything that I've, you know, tapped on the smartboard for or used your Mimeo pin for,
This is like magic.
yeah, you can just
My Vimeo pen hasn't worked all year, so.
like I said, my email's up right now on my desk, but I can control my entire desktop over there in my room right now by my iPad. And you can even do like screen markups and things like that, so you can hit this button here, it's called screen markup, and it changes everything, it puts a green line around it, and I can take a pen, and I can draw on it. So
It's a lot easier than a Vimeo pen.
yeah, and so like I said, it is, you know, easy to do that way, and that way I can, you know, walk around, I can interact with the kids, especially if we're doing the turn and talk stuff or the talking at their tables, because I actually have tables, I don't have desks. If they're talking at their tables, I can walk around and, you know, be really interactive with them.
So, I mean, this might not translate, but since you're doing a lot of more interactive stuff, how long does it typically take to go through like a presentation?
My classes are only 50 minutes,
Okay.
so I have to be done in less than 50 minutes.
So this probably
When the beginning of the year, getting them set up, you know, getting them trained to use it, about a half an hour for a session, because you have about 10 minutes getting everybody logged on, getting the code put in, getting everybody's. But now I can do. My classes are actually 55 minutes. I normally plan for about 40 to 45 minutes, presentation-wise. Because again, you have the interactive, you have the kids talking, you have kids drawing. It takes third graders a few minutes to actually type out a sentence. And a lot of times when we do The open-ended questions, we tell them they have to be written in complete sentences because we're still working on the complete sentences. So that way, you know, you got to add a little time for those things, and then especially the quiz at the end. Some kids takes a little longer. Some kids I actually have to go around and read the quizzes to them because it's part of their IEP, and some of them just can't read the questions. I try to make the questions as easily readable as possible, but sometimes when you talk about physical and political maps, or primary and secondary sources, you can't, you know, when you have to use the actual vocabulary, you can't get down too low. So, all right, any other questions? Lori was here.